board.
I mean, look, he has a child. We could call him Board Daddy.
It's
And with that, we're
true.
live. Hello, everyone.
Just in time.
I am joined here with two of our tournament participants. I'll let them introduce themselves and say hello. Board Daddy, would you like to start?
Oh boy, yeah, of course. I am Board Daddy, also known as Lord of the Board. And I am excited to be here and learn what this game has become. I've only played the original prototype for like the Kickstarter campaign, so I have like a basis of what the game is about, but I think it's changed quite a bit since then, so I'm excited to check it out.
I can confirm it very much has. And Nev, would you like to say hi as well?
Hello, it's me, beloved friend and ally, Nevakanezah,
Hell yeah.
who dropped his mic off his desk the second you said Board Daddy.
Awesome. Well, yeah, so we're basically just gonna take Lord of the Board and Nevakanezah through the game. Nev, you've basically already learned it, so this is probably just gonna be review for you. So if you think I'm missing something or want to jump in, like, please feel free. But yeah, we gotta get Sam up to speed with everything that's going on here. So
I have 4 liters of ice cream in my lap, so I'll do my best.
incredible, incredible. Be sure to eat it loudly as you're enjoying it. I'm sure everyone will
Can't
love
wait
that.
to hear that. I'm so excited to hear that.
Okay, so I have a server stood up on TTS. If you guys want to join that.
Yes.
The server name is, well, here, I'll just post it in the chat here. You'll never guess what the name and the password are. They're very creative.
Oh yeah.
And
This is getting about as creative as my root passwords.
and we're gonna go in the non-scripted build of the game for just like rules teaching and demos, and then we can pop over to the scripted version and like play around with that so you feel comfortable with everything that's automated. But the automation is just gonna fight me if I'm trying to actually teach, so that's why.
All right, I am in.
Excellent. We'll see how horrendous the ping is. As you guys can probably tell, a lot of this community is in Europe, so when I play with them, I get some pretty awful pings.
Oh wow, there's a lot of
This-
stuff going on.
This ought to be a breath of
Yeah.
fresh air then.
So I have a lot of stuff spread out just to like go through and do some demonstrations. So please don't be terrified by this. It is meant to be helpful.
It's we're both still loading in.
Oh, I see. Got you. Yeah, it's
The non-scripted one is not the one that I've got my fingers dug right into.
this one has not
Yeah,
been
I'm looking-
optimized.
I'm looking
Yeah.
at a white field.
Yeah, remember this experience
coming
because if they've implemented at least some of my work into the other one.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right.
Yeah, because I had mod caching off and like I opened this one and I'm like, man, that's like 2 minutes. And I was like, yeah, I have time.
when
I
you've
can
got
fix
time.
that.
I'm 69 out of 162.
Nice.
Oh no, it started speeding up. Okay.
We're-
Yeah, the graphics are so y'all. The art is so good. It's just.
I know.
Stop.
So this build has finally been updated with all of the final graphics, and I've just been like a kid in a candy store because before, not all of the art was in the mod, and now it all is here. And they did not need to go this
Oh, I
hard,
see.
but they did, and I'm so happy they did.
It is very. I like these like little I don't know, backgrounds for the different factions that you have behind the player boards.
Yeah.
Those are really cool.
I know. It's just beautiful.
Almost all the way
If you look
Almost.
incredibly closely,
Yeah.
you'll notice that some of the meeples actually have normal mapping.
Oh.
It was not a wise decision, but they
Normal
have it.
mapping not included in the IRL build.
I mean,
Yeah,
technically.
All right, you're almost there.
I'm like 5% off now. It's all a part of the game. You guys are trying to drown me out before we even start.
Yep.
Something, no mercy.
The first person to actually load the game gets 3 influence right off the bat.
That's why I'm going to be
So
pulling
is
out
that Nev?
my 80 yottabyte zip file onto the table so that I have the advantage.
Pull out the lag switch too.
Oh, perfect. Oh my gosh, this player or the board. Oh, wow. Oh, it's so different.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice.
So much has changed, dude. I can't even imagine looking at this with
Wow.
fresh eyes.
Yeah, this is crazy. Is this even the same game? No, I see the areas still, but it's like that's a very cool change. So that you guys went away from the tiles and went to a traditional player board, it looks like.
Yep. And
That's awesome. Okay, I'm loaded in.
All
It says
right.
loading complete. It's
so
telling me to select the color.
yeah, go ahead and
Right.
pick one. Nevakanezah already picked the faction that you're going to be playing, so you can pick the faction that
Why
he's.
would you?
I can swap
you
if you
do
want. Look,
No, it's
crow,
alright.
crow rep.
He sees purple and he clicks. What can he say?
Purple one.
All right.
No, this works for me.
Cool. So you're all loaded in. Everything's good to go. Can you see me spamming my little arrows? Okay.
100%.
Perfect. So we'll just kind of run it from the top, just as a reminder of like the flavor and the story of this game. We are all representing one of 4 factions in the kingdom. The old king who used to rule has gone missing, and nobody knows where the heck he went. So now we are all fighting to claim the throne and shape the future of the kingdom in our own faction's image. So the way that you'll win is by having the most influence, which is counted by these little influence tokens over here, at the end of 5 rounds. So this is probably one of the biggest changes between when you tried the game and where it is now. Instead of a route style first past the post, like get to X number of points, it is now a fixed round game. So every game will go, well, every normal game will go 5 rounds. And then we will tally and see who has the most influence, and that will be the winner.
Awesome.
So
That is very different.
the
Cool.
the core kind of like system of the game is the clash system. That is probably somewhat similar to when you played it last. But essentially, we'll look at this center area of the board, and the way that clashes work is each player will blind bid cards on each of one of these 3 regions. So kind of nomenclature piece, these are called regions. There's the highlands, the plateau, and the lowlands. Once players have bid cards, you'll reveal simultaneously, resolve effects, and in general, the card with the highest strength, which is indicated by the top left corner here, will win that clash. Now, there are other ways to augment your strength, and we'll kind of get into that in a little bit, but in general, high card will win. Now, you'll notice that each of these regions is split into 2 locations. So the Highlands has the castle, and it has the wilderness. When you win a region in a clash, you'll pick one of those 2 locations and get its reward. We'll go into what the rewards are later, because you need kind of some more context to really understand them. But note that they all give you an influence. So this is really kind of your main point scoring tempo piece, is making sure that you win at least one of these clashes per round. Everything feeling good so far?
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So other areas of the board that I just want to kind of define and point out. So we have our 3 regions in the middle. Down here, it's not actually defined, but I wrote it because it's not clear, unless it's kind of spelled out. But this is the lost pile. So when cards are eliminated, they go into the lost pile. It is essentially a shared card graveyard between all players. When cards are in the lost pile, you can't redraw them into your deck. There are ways to get them out of the lost pile, but they're very rare. In general, you do not want your cards to end up in the lost pile.
Isn't there? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
I was just gonna ask, is the gathering the one that plays with like the lost pile?
Yes.
Like as a mechanic, like that's one of their kind of like niche strategy type stuff.
Yep. So the gathering has
Okay,
a lot of
perfect.
effects that deal with the lost pile. Pretty much everybody else doesn't want their cards here. Gathering can play around this a little bit more.
Awesome. Cool.
Up here is what we call the Great Road. It is essentially a marketplace of these little cards called Kingdom cards. These act as upgrades that you can pick up for your faction. They work somewhat similarly. They're like somewhere in between crafted improvements from Root and Denizen cards from Oath.
Oath.
Yeah, I'm like, I love this game. It's in my background. Why can't I remember the name of it? So these will be bidding on, and they augment your faction in various ways. I've pulled some out of the deck that are like particularly goofy or weird rules-wise, and I'll kind of run through those later. But basically, these are upgrades that folks are going to be fighting over. And then finally, up here at the top, we have the council board. Did councils exist at all when you played this game last?
No. That's
All
a
right.
new concept.
So this is essentially another area you can get your cards into. We'll talk about how to get cards up here, but they confer really powerful bonuses. So you'll want to get cards up here so that you can get access to these 3 strong powers. And the nobility faction, the blue faction, is very good at controlling these areas and making the most of these powers up here. So with that, I want to kind of just take a closer look at cards themselves and define all of the information that's actually presented on the cards. So you'll see I've pulled out the deck here. So all players, all factions, start with the same deck composition. So that's makes learning a little bit easier. You're not fully asymmetric off the bat. You're going to kind of diverge as the game goes on. But everyone starts with this deck composition of 14 cards that you see here. Now, on a card itself, like I mentioned, in the upper left-hand corner, you have its strength. That is essentially its strength that it contributes to a clash. Below it, it has a little symbol that's called an archetype. So there are certain powers in the game that apply to certain archetypes of cards. So, for instance, if we look at Regal Guard, one of the nobility's powers over here, it says, for the rest of the round, your air-suited card gains invulnerable. So there will be certain effects that apply to certain archetypes of cards, and that's really their main usage. Below those, in the little banner, are what are called traits. Traits are essentially passive benefits that cards have. I'll go over what each trait does specifically. There's 3 of them, but in general, traits prevent cards from going to the lost pile when they would otherwise. That's like the easiest way to think about them. Then cards can have what are called commands. So you'll notice ambush or retreat, rally, flank, deploy. We'll kind of go into these specifically in a little bit, but essentially think of those as like card-specific actions. And then finally, cards can have votes, which are these little hammers. Votes have to do with councils. So in order for a card to be even eligible to go into a council, it has to have at least one vote. And the number of votes essentially is going to dictate how useful it is in that council. So council powers kind of scale with the number of votes that you have in that council. So cards with more votes are going to be more powerful when placed into a council. Then finally, this bottom right hand symbol is lore. Lore is a secondary currency in the game that's used to unlock more powerful cards that are asymmetric and go into your deck. Any questions on those pieces of information that are on the cards?
No.
Nothing here.
Cool. One other thing I'll mention is that everybody starts with their 10 in their hand. So in the game, you'll have a randomized hand of cards from here, but everyone will always start with their 10. It's referred to as their heir at the start of the game. So that is the one kind of piece of information that you absolutely know. So with that, the other piece that I want to kind of go into and explain starts down here on our player board. So in general, you are going to have your deck of cards, you're going to have a hand of cards, and you're going to have your discard pile. So your hand size is dictated by this little wheel right here. And kind of similar to like Dune Imperium or any kind of deck builder game, you'll play cards and they'll either end up in the lost pile or your discard pile. And eventually, at the start of the round, you'll draw cards back up from your deck to refill your hand. If at any point your deck does not have enough cards to refill your hand, you'll shuffle your discard pile, make it into a new deck, then finish filling your hand. Pretty standard, right? The one thing that this game punishes you for doing that is through what's called attrition. So when you have to move your discard over to your deck and create a new deck, you also decrement this wheel by 1 and lower your hand size by 1. So in some ways, card cycling is almost like bad in this game, because if you keep losing a lot of your cards or discarding a lot of your cards, you're going to get punished with an increasingly smaller hand size each time you go through that process of reshuffling. Any questions on that piece?
Nope.
Oh, just a lot of painful memories just came back as you reminded me of this.
Yeah,
I
it's
remember.
kind of
that has not changed.
It's kind of a degenerative thing where like if you just don't want to incur it early because you just fall apart.
Yeah.
is how it tends to go.
It's a fun mechanic though. I like things that make your life hard throughout the game.
Yeah.
That's never a bad thing. I love that stress, so
It's definitely one of the more unique mechanics that they've put in this game. I would say it's like one of those game defining mechanics for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I think it probably makes the most sense to just kind of talk about how a round goes now. So like I mentioned, you'll be playing 5 rounds, and the board is set up in a way to just lead you through all the steps of the round. So you'll see like there's little arrows here, and you're going to move this little marker across here to kind of track your progress through the round.
And in the scripted version, it moves the marker for you.
It does. What will they think
That
of
is
next?
Very fancy.
So,
fancy.
So at the start of the year, and it's kind of, each round is segmented into phases. So we'll go through kind of each one of these little phases. So the first is start of year. This is essentially just an upkeep phase. So you'll draw cards, and if you incur attrition, you will resolve that as well. Then you'll determine turn order. So turn order matters for action steps, which we'll talk about in just a second. But essentially the way turn order works is the person with the most points will be in first, and the person with the least points will be in last, and it just goes in decreasing order. If players are tied, then they flip on the track. So let's say that I have 2 points, and you and Nevakanezah have 1 point, and we've just started a new round. You two would flip your order on the track.
Got it.
So we'll determine turn order, and then we move into spring. So spring deals with the Great Road and kind of setting up the board for that round. So the first thing that you do is when resolving the Great Road, you place bids. So everyone will bid 1 card from their hand, and everyone will reveal simultaneously. So let's say, once again, you put this card out, I put this card out. Now, because you had the highest bid, it's looking at strength, you would choose one of these cards that you could take. Now, you don't actually have to take one from the market, but that is kind of the standard option. So let's say you really wanted Cracked Sundial. What you then do is you take the Kingdom card and you take the card that you bid. You place that card here in one of your open slots, and you place the card on top of it. This card is now said to be occupying this Kingdom card. So anytime you see something referencing an occupying card, it's a card that is essentially slid under that Kingdom card, tucked under that Kingdom card.
And it's guarding it for you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's like that's the number to beat if you want to steal it, if I remember.
Bingo.
Or make them discard it. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
That reminded me a lot of Oath as well.
Yep, and that's kind of a big policing element in this game, is knowing when to take these away from people because they're too strong. So let's say, we're actually resolving this bid. You have your 5, and you see that I have Cracked Sundial, and you say, no, Jaffles is not allowed to have fun. What you can do instead is steal. So because a 5 is greater than a 2, you can steal that, and then this card would go back to my hand.
Oof. And
stealing is strong because you not only gain something, but you take something away from another player. So it can be very good to steal, and you often will want to do that. Now, your third option is if you hate everything here, you don't want to steal, you can also just take the card back to hand. You don't have to do anything.
Cool.
Now, in the case where your slots are all full, let's say you have
artwork. Oh my gosh!
I know. Isn't it just beautiful? It's just beautiful.
I just need to spend some time to look through.
Please take a moment.
When
Go
I was
for
playing it, there was a lot of duplicate artwork, so I'll do that after the stream.
I would absolutely recommend just looking at every piece. That's what I did as soon as I did that. So, in a case where your slots are all full, it's still okay. You can take a card, but you just need to essentially discard one, take this back to hand, and then make room for the new one.
And that does not have to be higher than the one that you replace.
It does not. Great question.
When it's your own, it does not.
You can just relieve him of duty, send him on his way.
Cool.
All right. So after the Great Road is resolved, we'll replenish the marketplace. The automated mod does it for you, but essentially either 1 or 2 cards will get booted out of the market depending on how many are left, and will replenish from the deck. So the next step is heralds. So if you remember, heralds are these big doodads over here, and they're essentially a way of demonstrating, hey, I really want to go for this location. And this is one of the first things that will deal with turn order. Actually, rewind me for 1 second. Let me just cover one more edge case, because turn order is important there too. Let's say we have a tie. Ties, you then resolve the bids in turn order. So we both have a 6 put out. I would go first, then you.
Perfect.
right. So yes, placing heralds is done in turn order. So I would be the first one to go, then you would go, then Nev would go. And essentially, you pick one of the locations on the board. So you're not choosing a region, you are choosing a location. Now, why do I care about my herald? Basically, if you win the location where your herald is located, you get an extra point. And if your herald is co-located with another herald, and you win that region, you not only get the herald bonus, the extra point, you also steal a point from that other player.
All other players?
Yes, from all other present players. So, going last is really nice in this case,
Yeah,
because
it's a huge benefit.
yeah, you get to see
Right.
where everyone else is going, and you can either avoid them or, go on top of them. In
That
general,
works
in
as, like,
this
a catch-up
game...
mechanism, I guess. So that's nice.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, sorry. I was just saying it works like a catch-up mechanism though, because the player who's last in turn order or last in influence is last in turn order.
Exactly. You'll find that turn order effects generally favor the person in last place. So,
Cool.
being in last place, there's even an interesting element of like sandbagging in this game, where it's like you can kind of hang out in last place and like build up to kind of have a big turn with all of that information that you have. So it's not always the worst thing to be in last place, especially early on.
Oh, I play Mario Kart competitively. I know all about sandbagging.
This man knows when I say shock dodge. He knows what I'm talking about.
I didn't think you could play that game competitively. I've seen it played competitively.
Oh, it can be done.
Don't talk to me or
Done
Funky
by
Flame Runner ever again.
lunatics.
All right. So back here to our next step, we have our first action step. So you've probably noticed that all of these different effects have little timing windows on them. You may have even noticed this little green spring icon. When we enter the spring action step, it's time to do all the things that have the spring icon on them. And once again, this is done in turn order. So, as the person who's first, I would resolve any of my effects that have that spring icon, and then I would pass to the next player. So, here you can see you have tactics, which I'll talk about in a little bit. With the spring icon, you might have kingdom cards. So like Crack Sundial activates in spring. So basically just look for all of your spring icons and optionally activate as many of them as you would like. The other major...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, please go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, so for the this ability, since it's printed on the player board, this happens every round in spring for the uprising.
So this specific power, this is called the Kingdom's Favor. You'll notice there's one on each board and a little indent. You can only perform the Kingdom's Favor action if you have won the Kingdom's Favor dial by winning the Harvest Field.
God, I remember that now. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
it was the Collaborator, I think is what it used to be called.
Yeah, it was not called that, and it ticks down for
Yeah.
use, I believe. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember now. Okay, cool.
Yep. So, yeah, you will resolve all of your spring actions in turn order. The other major spring action that all players have on their board is supporters. So supporters are essentially a secondary way to pump up your strength in a region. And you can take as many of these supporters as you want, and you can distribute them however you see fit between all of the different regions. So these are specifically played to a region, not a location. Then one other thing that I would mention is that these go away at the end of the round. So don't place all 5 on the first round. There are ways to get them back, but in general, they go to the lost pile during cleanup. So you want to be somewhat judicious and strategic about how you are deploying those. But they do count as 1 extra strength. So let's say you have your 6 here, and I have a 5 here. This is actually a 8 versus your 6. Is that all feeling good?
Feeling great.
Excellent, excellent. So once everyone has placed supporters, and this goes without saying, it's a huge advantage to see where everyone's placing their supporters as the last player as well, because you can react to that. We then move into Summer. So Summer is essentially Clash resolution. We have the spam bot in the chat. Let me just kick this person. Okay. So the first thing that you'll do is place Clash markers. Once again, we have another huge advantage for last place. The person in last gets to take these markers and choose the order in which these regions will resolve. Once the clash markers have been placed, you go ahead and resolve the clashes. Oh man, I'm realizing I forgot the most basic thing that you do in this game, which is place cards. After you place your heralds, that's when you place your cards at the region too. So.
Yeah. And you place one for each if you want to, or do you have to place one in each?
You have to. If you can, you have to.
That's why the minimum hand size is 3.
Yep.
Hey.
It wasn't always 3. We really used to let people suffer.
Yeah, it used to go down to 1, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We ran into that a couple of our early games. I remember we were like, oh my gosh, what is happening to us? We got better though.
I was reading through and I'm like, oh, that's why it's 3. Apparently not.
We somewhat idiot-proofed the game.
Wow. Fortunately, I've brought a better idiot.
Do you resemble that comment?
I do resemble that remark.
All right. So when resolving clashes, once we've determined the order it's going to go in, you just flip. Then everyone flips their cards. And we then enter another action step. So our second action step is the daylight action step. And you might be wondering, Cuddy, why is it not the summer action step? It's because there's 3 of them. So each one of these clashes will have its own daylight action step. So essentially, I guess, these battles are happening over 3 days. So if you have any cards that have daylight actions on them, you will resolve those in turn order. If you have any tactics, similarly with daylight actions, you'll resolve those at the same time. So now, as the person first in turn order, I could choose to activate any commands with daylight actions on my cards, or on my player board or anywhere else that I have. So, for example, and once again, we'll talk about the commands in a little bit, but the flank command lets me move this card into an unresolved region. So, as a daylight action, I could go ahead and move this card out of here. I know I'm not going to win, so I will lend its strength to another region. Once everyone has done their daylight actions, we'll resolve effects. So this is a good point to point out a little bit of nomenclature. So within this game, there are actions and there are effects. Actions always have a round circle next to them, and they happen in action steps. The key thing about actions is that they are optional, and they can only happen once per round. So, for instance, you have a tactic called Safe Houses that can be activated up to 3 times. Because this is an action, you can only use it once per round. So you couldn't use this multiple times, essentially like in multiple clashes that round. Because it is an action, it is limited to once per round. The place where commands, which are these little printed things on the cards, are special, is that commands do not have that once per round limitation. If I wanted to flank this card multiple times per round, I could, because it is a command. But you cannot do this multiple times in a round because it is an action. Is that feeling clear so far?
Yes.
Okay. The other piece are effects. So effects are differentiated by having this little, what is this, hexagonal box around it. Now, the key thing to know about effects, A, they are activated in effect steps. There's only 2 of them. Night is the first one that we've encountered. Effects are mandatory. So if you see anything that has that little hexagon around it, that little moon, it is a mandatory thing that you have to do. We don't have any cards with that right now, but we'll kind of look at those in a little bit. So once we've done daylight actions or commands, then night effects, we move on to the next region. Once again, revealing cards, going into a new action step, a new effect step, and then we do it one more time. Any questions on clash resolution before we kind of move out of this phase?
All good here.
Yeah. All I'm learning is I shouldn't have top decked my 3 selections.
All right. So once that is done, we move into autumn. Autumn is pretty straightforward. It's essentially just a giant action step. So you'll notice that that is another timing window that appears on tactics and cards. So once again, in turn order, you will resolve your autumn actions. You are also given 2 free actions every autumn, and these are called Govern and Journey. So this is where you can now have access to councils or start to generate lore. And you'll be looking at these bottom portions of the cards to know whether they can be governed or journeyed. So we'll cover Govern first. So it's Govern is, at least in this instance, specified from your hand. And the way that Govern works is if a card has 1 or more vote on it, which is these little hammer symbols, and that card's in your hand. Let's say this card was in my hand. I did not choose a roll. Hold on, let me do that. Okay. Let's say this card was in my hand. Because it has a vote on it, I can choose one of these 3 councils and place the card in that council. Now, councils are not limited to just one player. So we could have cards from all different factions in these councils. And you can also have an unlimited number of cards in a council. Now, one thing you'll notice that's kind of nice about these councils is that they are, at least 2 out of the 3 of them, are autumn actions. So you can actually govern a card. You have votes in this council now. You can then go ahead and activate its autumn action. So this phase tends to be very freeform in terms of how you're doing things. So you can kind of activate things in any order that you want, and there generally is like a strategic way to do that. The other piece is Journey. So all of these cards have a little lore counter on them. If you journey a card, once again, it's specified from hand. If you journey a card, then you get to gain the amount of lore that's listed on that card. So let's say I'm journeying this 3. It has 1 lore listed on it. I gain 1 lore. Now, in general, when you journey a card, it will go into the lost pile. Sadly, the Priestess of the Peaks did not make it back from her journey. She got lost. The cards that have this little map on them, this is called Pathfinder. It's a trait that a card can have. If a card has Pathfinder, when you journey it, you get the lore, and it goes into your discard pile instead of your lost pile. So something that I like to do is just like a general strategy tip. Is you'll notice none of your kind of like crappy cards, like your 1, 2, 3, 4, have Pathfinder. I like to journey these early to just get them out of my deck. Because like a 1's not really doing me much good. I can turn it in for a lore and actually get it out of my deck by putting it in the lost pile. So these cards tend to be journey fodder early on. And then you might see journeying kind of later with the better cards, but they go into your discard instead.
Got it.
Remember, sacrifice grandma for the economy.
Thank you for that. So, when you get lore, you can... I'm sorry. Okay, this is serious stream for serious people. So when you get lore, you can spend it for cards at your site of power. So I splayed all of these out. They are normally like stacked here, but I like to just have them all splayed out. These are what are called your advanced faction cards. They're all asymmetric. This is kind of where you can really start to spec into the asymmetry of the different factions. You'll notice that each one of these cards has a lore cost in the upper right-hand corner. As you can probably guess, that's what you're going to be spending your lore on. So, I have 2 lore, and I can pick up any of these 2 lore cost cards. Now, there's 2 types of cards that you can acquire. The ones that are, I guess, vertically oriented act like any other card. They go into your hand, you play them into regions, they are essentially just another piece of your deck, and it's nice because you have more cards to help you offset attrition. The ones that are horizontal are called HQ cards. These are essentially like permanent tableau upgrades. I don't know, they're like mole ministers or something, that essentially go into your tableau, and it's just a permanent upgrade. So as you're building out, you can kind of make that decision. Do I want kind of like these passive powers, these permanent upgrades, or do I want to get more powerful cards into my hand to be playing onto the board? In general, unless you get some really crazy kingdom cards that help you generate a ton of lore, you probably won't be able to get all of these out in a single game. So it is important to kind of decide which ones am I going to go for? Am I generating lore quickly enough for my expensive cards? Should I just go for my cheap cards? That's kind of part of the, I guess, like faction-specific strategy. One thing I will also mention, kind of the buying window for these cards, is anytime you acquire lore, you can then spend it. So let's say I'm in my autumn and I journeyed my card to get my second lore, and I choose not to purchase anything. At that moment, I acquire the second lore. I am then essentially foregoing a purchase until I acquire another lore. So you have to resolve a purchase when you acquire lore. You can't say get it and then take another action and then make a purchase. Does that feel clear?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, that's autumn. You do all your autumn actions. You get 1 free govern, 1 free journey. And then we enter winter, which is our second effect step. This is basically just a cleanup phase. We clear everything off of the board. Any cards that are still out on the board go into the discard pile. Any supporters that are out on the board go into the lost pile. We advance the round tracker, and we move back up to do it all over again. So that's a round. Any questions on that before I just kind of go into some more specific things, like talking about what the different locations do and what some of these councils do?
I don't think so. Though you didn't touch on the fact that councils do have suits as well.
That is true. I think that only matters... Does it
It
matter?
only matters for like a couple of effects, but they do have their own like special suits.
Yes, I think it's the syndicate.
Talking
There's a,
this
like...
symbol here, or like this little symbol by them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep, and the kingdom cards do have suits as well. that also align with these three. I think an expansion faction is going to do more with that, is my understanding.
Whoa.
Sorry, spoiler alert. But
Wow.
yeah, does the Syndicate still deal with this?
One of them does, yeah.
This is
Syndicate. The Syndicate isn't one of these 4 factions. Are you talking about an individual card?
it is. Yeah, it's one of the HQ cards for Uprising.
Ah, I see it.
Oh, here we go. Okay, yes. So whenever you acquire a kingdom card, you then look at the suit of that kingdom card and get to place a marker in the corresponding council. So they have a way to kind of like infiltrate the council without actually putting cards up here, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. Cool.
So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at just what all the region rewards are. So starting in the Highlands, we have Castle. Castle is going to be your main way to get extra cards into the councils or police the councils. So when you win Castle, you gain an influence, as you do with all other regions. Then it says you govern with one card that is active or in your hand. So you'll notice that it's a little bit more flexible than the standard govern that you get in Autumn. That's govern with a card from your hand. This says govern with one card that is active or in your hand. Now, the way that active is defined is essentially any face-up card in this main area. So let's just say that you just won Castle because you have a supporter here. 6-5, you win Castle. Now, you can govern a card. You can do it as normal with a card from your hand, or you can say, hey, I actually have this active card down here. I'm going to govern with this instead. So the strength of that is essentially, let's say that this bottom region was actually the first one to resolve. You know, this card has already done its thing. It's already contributed towards the resolution of this region. Now you can essentially double dip and get it up into a council too. The other thing that you do here is discard all other cards from that chosen council. So maybe you don't like the fact that Nev and I are here in the Council of Oats. So you govern this card in, and you kick us out.
You will kick your own stuff out too.
Yes. So do be aware of that. You know, if you had your card in here and our cards were here, this comes in, and everything else must go.
Yeah, it is all other cards.
Yep. So yeah, this is really, if someone has a strong amount of cards in councils, they are going to be defending this. And if you want to dislodge someone, the best way to do that is by winning this.
Makes sense.
Wilderness is basically the same thing, but with Journey. So instead of the standard Journey with a card from your hand, Journey with a card that is active or in your hand. So it's a way to squeeze in extra lore generation and is more flexible with cards that you can use it towards. Then moving into the middle region here. The Harvest Field gets you the Kingdom's Favor, which we discussed earlier. It unlocks a powerful action in your tableau that you can use up to 3 times. If you have the Kingdom's Favor marker, but someone else wins and takes Harvest Field's location, they steal the marker from you, and they reset it to 3. And then if you ever use that third usage of it, the marker then resets 3 and just goes back on the board.
Cool.
Battlefield is the simplest effect. Instead of 1 influence, it gives you 2 influence. So this one's really nice to just stack Herald bonuses and just score a lot of points. You generally see people fighting over this one late in the game when they're just trying to get a bunch of points. Then this bottom region these are kind of the trickier, like, card management powers. So tend to be not as useful early game, but very useful once attrition is starting to kick your butt. So the Shrine allows you to move 3 cards that are active or in your hand to the bottom of your deck. So once again, active cards are going to be any cards that are face up on the board. So this allows you to essentially, start building what cards go back into your deck. It prevents you from running into attrition because you're kind of cycling cards back into your deck. It also lets you kind of get bad cards out of your hand if you want to cycle cards. The Necropolis allows you to get cards out of your discard pile. So if you have had some bad luck and you have things in your discard pile that you want to get back into your hand, the Necropolis will allow you to do that. It does force you to do it at random, though. So if your discard pile has more than 3 cards in it, there's no guarantee that you get exactly the cards that you're looking for. You can also remove cards from your hand to kind of move them back in. So if your hand is full, you can still use the Necropolis. Any questions on just what these different rewards do?
All good here.
Yep.
Excellent. So we'll look at the councils. So the Council of Relics, this one essentially allows you to pump up your Herald reward. So for the number of votes that you have in this council, when you're getting your Herald reward, which as a reminder is essentially if you win a region where your Herald is and then take the location bonus where your Herald is. For each vote that you discard from this council, that becomes an extra influence. So you can stack a bunch of votes in here and then turn that into a huge influence bonus. The Council of Secrets gives you a autumn action that allows you to place faction markers, which I should mention are just these little tokens. Place faction markers on regions. You get to place the number of markers equal to your votes. Essentially, what this allows you to do is if you accumulate 4 or more in a specific location, you can then remove those 4 markers and claim that location's reward, minus influence. It used to give the influence too, and that was too broken. So it's a way to essentially, get things like Castle or Harvest Field or any of these non-battlefield ones. It's useless on Battlefield. But to get some of these effects without having to actually contest the region during a clash. Something that I really like to do is keep a few of these on Castle in case I need to just, kick someone out of a council.
Makes sense.
And then Council of Oaths is one of the few ways to get supporters back. So if you're really focusing on supporters and you have some votes in this council, at the end of the round, basically the number of supporters equal to those votes goes back into your supply instead of going to the lost pile. This one also has a buff. If you have the most votes there, you get an additional supporter. So previously, people honestly would kind of ignore this one. And so if you let one person put a card here, they're going to get a lot of value out of it unless you contest it. So those are the councils. The other thing that I will mention now that we're kind of through the main board stuff are these tactics. So you have 4 tactics on your board. You may have played a version of the game where those could be refreshed after they're used. That is no longer the case. They are all essentially one-time use. So their actions, you'll see they have an activation window, except for one of nobilities, which is a little weird. Some of them can be used multiple times, like safe houses here. But once all of those 3 markers are exhausted, once again, the tactic becomes exhausted and is no longer usable.
With but one exception.
With but one exception. That's why I pulled this one out. This is the only way you get to use a tactic twice. It is one of the strongest kingdom cards in the game. It's really good because these tactics are kind of like round defining. And so being able to get to use one twice can be an insane advantage.
And but doesn't that art look familiar?
I don't know
Very
what it could be
fitting,
referencing, honestly.
Very fitting water plug. I like it.
So, yes, good call out. All right, so let's talk about the different commands. There are 8 of them, I think. Are there 8 of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, there are only 6 of them. Okay, so you can find all of these on at least one card in your standard deck, and you'll run into them more either on your advanced faction cards or on the kingdom cards. So we'll just kind of run through these in order. So an ambush. Ambush is found on one of your 0 cards, which is called your ruse. It's that little jester hat. Ambush is really strong. It essentially allows you to play another card face down into a clash. So let's say we just revealed these. Now we're resolving daylight actions, and I choose to use the ambush on this card. I can then take another card from my hand and place that face down. Once everyone has resolved all of their daylight actions, I then reveal that card, and I can resolve any commands on it. And I can, add its strength to the combat. So it's a great way to either get extra strength in or pull in kind of cards that counter what your opponents have played. And your faction that you're playing, the Gathering, has a lot of ambush effects. They can stack a lot of ambushes and like pull cards into regions strategically.
Oh.
So that's ambush. Yeah, so that command can be activated multiple times by the same card in a round. So if you somehow get flank on it, you can do some shenanigans. Retreat is the other one, so that you will see is also on your ruse. Retreat allows you to pull any cards in that clash back to your hand. It allows you to also retreat your Herald and any supporters that you've put there. So it essentially just, you abandon that region completely, but you get to conserve your resources and potentially even, prevent getting stolen from. Then flank, we saw a little bit earlier. Flank is on one of your 5 cards, your cavalry card. Where did I put it? It's over here. So flank allows you to move a card into an unresolved region. So let's say this is the first region that's being resolved. I choose to activate flank. I can move it here. I can move it here. Now, if we are in our last region, this is region 3, flank is useless. There are no unresolved regions that I could move this card into. Rally is next. Rally is found on your heir, which is your 10 strength, and it's also found on your trader, which is your 0 strength card, your other 0 strength card. Rally allows you to take active cards back into your hand. There's kind of 2 flavors of Rally that exist, where you see Rally Self. This used to be Supply, if you remember Supply, but
Yes.
It essentially means I can only use Rally to take itself back into the hand. Versus this, Rally Any 2, I could say, take this into my hand and take this into my hand, and I don't have to use it on this card. Rally is really strong because it lets you reuse cards round over round and avoid attrition. Deploy is the other autumn command. It's found on one of your 5s, which is called your War Machine, this little comet icon. Deploy is an autumn action, and so what deploy does is you take a card from hand and you place it face up next to one of the regions. And the card just kind of hangs out there and counts as an active card for the next round's clash. So you're essentially like pre-declaring that I will have, 5 strength here, plus whatever I choose to play into the region next round. The way that you track how long a card sticks around is you just put a little influence token on it. You may see cards that have like deploy 2 or deploy 3. Some kingdom cards let you essentially manipulate that. And during the cleanup phase, one of the things that you do is just remove the influence from any deployed cards. If a card no longer has any influence on it, it's just discarded. So that essentially just acts as a timer to let you know how long that card gets to stick around. Before we go into Deadly, because it's kind of its own thing, any questions on the commands that we've done so far?
None here.
Nope.
All right. So, Deadly is found on your Agent, which is your third 5 card. What Deadly does is it essentially allows you to eliminate all other enemy cards that are in that clash. So let's say we have, that's a bad example. Let's do these 3 cards. So you'll notice Deadly is a night effect. So you have to do Deadly. You don't have any other option. So once we are in the night effect step, I see I have Deadly. So now I eliminate all other cards in the clash. So this one does get eliminated. When a card is eliminated, it goes into the lost pile. But this card has the invulnerable trait. So this shield trait, this essentially means that it is immune to Deadly. It cannot be eliminated by Deadly. So this card gets to stay. Now, if there were another card that has this helmet icon, that card is resilient. So what resilient does is if a card is eliminated, instead of going to the lost pile, it goes into the discard pile. So it still gets kicked out of the clash, but you don't lose it. It just goes into your discard pile. Now, all of the agents have a secondary effect where if opponents' follower cards, which are these like kind of crappy 1 through 4 cards, are in the clash, these actually get eliminated themselves. So this existed in some form in the earlier builds of the game. It's been kind of like teased out into 2 separate effects. So not everything with Deadly has this secondary caveat, but every card that you start with that has Deadly has this secondary effect. Like, for instance, you'll notice, like, School of the Streets, one of the tactics that Uprising has, grants Deadly to your heir, and it doesn't have that secondary effect of saying, oh, if there's a follower, that card gets knocked out too. Other things with Deadly, if there are multiple cards with Deadly in a clash, let's find this one. It's in here somewhere. Where is your agent? Here. Let's say these were both here. So these cards have Deadly. They are not invulnerable. So they just are both eliminated, and they are said to have eliminated each other. And if there was a card, if there was a squishy card in here from another faction, let's just grab this card. This card would be eliminated as well, and both cards are said to have eliminated each other and this card. The reason that you would care about that is because there are certain effects that say, like, when you eliminate a card, get an influence, get a lore, whatever. So it's very, I guess everything happens simultaneously. So everyone gets to share in the payout if there is one.
Makes sense.
All right. I'm trying to think if there's anything else mechanically before I just start to dive into some edge cases with the kingdom cards. Nev, is there anything that you would add at this point?
Oh.
Now that I've given you a chance to eat your ice cream.
I know. I had a huge dinner because I barely eaten most of the day. I think you covered most everything. Yeah, you covered the ambush stuff. I guess one of the things to remember when you're doing ambush or retreat, anything that moves stuff to and from your hand, is that your autumn phase where you govern or journey things is the one where you kind of want to like have something left in your hand after clashes are resolved, because it's unfortunate to put your entire hand into clashes. So it's a bit of a balancing act between where you want to commit that. We have that. It's a little bit of that badger mindset where you have to decide what you want to protect in your hand.
See, I understand that. I like that root talk.
Yeah, I've had to frame everything in root talk as much as I could. I keep calling it trick taker because all I know is like arcs.
I teach every game like I teach root now.
Stressfully.
Well,
cool.
In some ways, in this game, every faction is moles because you have this like tech tree of ministers that you're figuring out how you want to sway.
See, the difference is in this game you can attack that tech tree, and they have to interact with the board.
Yes.
So not quite mole-like in that aspect.
No.
Every chance, god damn it!
I've given him this platform. What have I done?
All the pain.
I'll bring my own
all the
tears.
I did think of one thing, one corner case that I want to cover. If there is a tie, the way that you resolve that is essentially by doing another full clash. And that is optional. So what you do is in turn order. So let's say, here, there's a tie. It would go to me first, and I could either say, I'm going to put another card down, or I pass. Then it would go to red, and red could say, I put a card down, or I pass. Then the cards are revealed, and you do another, clash, and the cards that were already there, or the supporters that were already there, are not considered in this new clash. It just, everything happens from scratch, like it were a fresh region. So that can be a really great way to hemorrhage cards.
So not even the previous card that you had there counts?
Nope. It is completely
just
fresh.
The new card. It's just a full new bid. Okay.
100%.
This matters too for if you have a kingdom card that has like a daylight activation. Because it's an action, you can only activate it once per round. So you can only use it in one of those clashes, even though it's in the same literal location.
Yep. So, like, if I had used Swansong Horn to ambush, add ambush to a card in that first clash, I couldn't use Swansong Horn again, because that action is essentially exhausted until the end of the round. I'm going to be playing this game with, like, Magic the Gathering players, and I know they're just going to be, like, tapping their cards when they're using their actions.
Yeah, that's just natural. Yeah, it's going to happen. I would tap it too, probably.
I'm sitting in front of a bunch of Magic the Gathering cards at this moment.
Are you tapping them?
So am I, actually.
No, but I've been building a commander deck, and it's the first time I've played the game in like 20 years, so...
Nice.
Was it me did I help bring this back to you, or was it already happening when I mentioned it? That's off topic.
It
but
was
I'll-
yeah, Bloomburrow is what brought me back.
Okay, same.
The root players going for the woodland themed cards. Who would have guessed?
It's true.
I like what I like.
We have problems.
All right, so let's just look at some of these weirdo kingdom cards because I just think they illustrate useful rules interactions that are good to internalize. So I already talked about Curious Ring. It's the one way to get your tactics back. It's just really strong. I would put Prototype Simulacrum under that as well. This one is just really, really strong. What this allows you to do is use an opponent's kingdom favor. Which is just... It's just insane. Or it lets you... yeah, and you... They don't even need to have the kingdom's favor. It's just... Yeah. Most people use it on Spy Network if Uprising is in the game, because Spy Network is really, really good.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's good.
Oh yay!
That's
That's a
very
real
powerful.
beauty.
It's going full Tim Hortons there.
Yeah.
Like I'm the only one with the right to do it.
This one I pulled out because some kingdom cards will specify you to just discard your bidding card and place this like in your tableau. And so it essentially becomes like an unstealable permanent enhancement, like an HQ card. So there are a few of these that can just stick with you permanently. The Poisoner's Ball is one of two effects that deals with what the game defines as printed information. So, actually, I should do this in the opposite order. Let's look at Swansong Horn first. So, Swansong Horn allows you to choose an active card and add a command to it. So, let's say I, have Swansong Horn. I'm protecting it with this card, which would be really dumb, but I'm doing it. So, if we're resolving this clash, I could use Swansong Horn to add an ambush command to this card. Now, that is not what is considered a printed effect. So any cards that say target printed effects, printed information, do not remove effects that are brought about by, say a kingdom card or a tactic, like anything that kind of melds that effect onto the card. That is not considered a printed effect. And so...
MTG has a direct match to this in... I think there's a couple things that say like printed into, but also in token copies of creatures and other stuff. If it's not physically printed on the card, then it doesn't care.
Yes. Yep. So...
Makes sense to me.
That is one key thing to know. So, like, for instance, I think a case where this comes up a lot is with, like, say, Regal Guard. Regal Guard is an ability that allows you to give invulnerable to your heir. If Poisoner's Ball is played and your heir is affected by it, but you have Regal Guard, you can still retain invulnerability on that heir. So that is something that's nice, because this is a really good way to, like, get rid of invulnerability and other things to be able to eliminate cards that would otherwise not be able to be eliminated. And then we have Shapeshifter's Mirror. This is just the shenanigans card. I'm really happy they kept this in the game, but it's definitely a goofy effect. So yeah, you choose one of your cards, and it then becomes a copy of a card, any card, in the lost pile. It does not need to be one of your cards. And yeah, for all intents and purposes, you can kind of do some unhinged stuff with this. So, like, let's say my agent is in the lost pile because life is suffering and I've made some bad decisions. Say I have my 2 out. I could use Shapeshifters to turn my 2 into my agent for the rest of the round. So that means I could get some eliminates with it. If that 2 survives, and maybe I win castle, I could govern this, because this is an agent. I could move this in, because it technically has 2 votes on it until the end of the round.
Doppelganger.
So because this lasts the entire round, you can do some weird shit with it, like getting cards with no votes into councils, or other things like that. Or like, say I turned it into my heir, I could then use an heir suited power on it, or things like that. So I would just say this, wherever it went, it's down here. You can just see some weird things with this, because I can see how this would work in like the digital game. I see it like a Balatro effect, where the card like flips over and turns into the other card. But yeah, you have to just kind of use your imagination and remember it is for the rest of the round that it becomes a copy of that card.
Since it's in the lost pile, couldn't you theoretically pull it from the lost pile just to temporarily remember? Or wait, no, it will come from. Never mind. We're all good.
So
no, because it has to stay in there and it
Yep.
becomes the new. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So yeah, it's the shenanigans card.
Nev's favorite.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, the Gathering have a card that functions similarly to it. It's the Ritual of the Tooth. But this burns the card, and then essentially, like, turns the other card into a Frankenstein's monster of the 2 that has all of the strength and traits of both cards on a singular card. So this is where, like, strategically getting stuff into the lost pile could be strong, because you could, like, combine this card with your agent and give it deadly, or you could combine this card with something that has flank and be able to flank it all over the place. There's just also lots of shenanigans you can do with that.
Make some unholy monster.
I leave it up to the brilliant minds of the community to break it in some way, because I haven't figured it out. But yeah, that's the game. Would it be helpful? I know it's getting super late for you guys, so if you need to go, no problem. But would it be helpful to just play around, to just kind of sit in it and like go through the motions of what a round looks like?
That'd be good.
I'm good with that.
Cool. So I'm gonna stand up a new server with the automated build.
You can just pull it from the games tab in this server.
Yes, that is what I should actually do. So let me go ahead and do that.
Fancy. Whoa.
Wait for it.
Yeah, look how much faster this loads.
Oh yeah.
This still doesn't even have my changes in it.
Oh.
Wait.
This man was born to optimize.
Oh, it does not. It does not. So, I mean, I was a stress test engineer for 10 years. But I was timing it. The original one is like 1:45 on my computer. The version with all my changes in it is 22 seconds, and I get to be very proud of it.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's nice. This little interface that pops up on the side is very nice too, showing influence numbers, calculating lore. Why don't we have that for Root, Nev? What's going on with that?
Because everything in Root goes in different places all the time.
It's true,
and
but
we love
I'm
to
just
like
gonna
roll
wait.
shit back.
I'm gonna wait. No,
we did look into it. We looked into like tracking actions and all sorts of crap for Root, and it was basically the options were spend 2 years developing it for free, or
Wait for digital.
reprogram
Fair.
with digital ourselves ultimately.
I mean, I am so happy that Marauder is out in digital now, because it's
Me-
just
me
nice to be
too.
able to
It's so
practice
nice.
Marauder factions more easily.
It's nice being able to punish moles for their hubris.
Yes.
It is very, very nice to
Yeah.
feel that
Ad set
balance in
Underworld
the
was
root
just
air.
really cursed. Too many
I mean,
insurgents.
That-
So many
Ad
bad
set
flops.
Underworld was like still so much better than standard Underworld because you can just play Pump and Dump in standard Underworld forever, and punishing you for it is almost suicidal.
That's fair. I was not around for pre-Marauders route, so I've only heard the legends of the pain.
Marauders Root is why I hate moles so much.
It's true. We've all been scarred. But there's also still, the original base game root Sting of Tinker.
Oh my god.
I hold.
I played Root like in person recently. And we played with base deck and I was moles and I crafted a favor card twice and my friend
That's
bought
gross.
the new deck immediately afterwards. He had to be taught a
Yeah.
lesson.
If you own the game and you're the one bringing it, like just surreptitiously replace the favor cards with the Partisans cards from the new deck, and your life will be much better.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the new deck too. I think there's looks like some really cool stuff in there.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah. I was just gonna say yes. I'm very excited about it. It's awesome.
Cool. Well, zoning back in here, has it loaded for y'all?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm in.
So, one key thing to note about this is do not start the game until everyone has actually chosen their like color, like taken their seat. It will break and have to be reloaded otherwise. So it'll give you the option for short, standard, or long game. We're going to be playing standard games in the tournament. So do you guys want to stop and swap and actually pilot the factions you're going to be playing in the tournament?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
I mean, if
I'm sorry to take you
Yeah,
off of your
like-
precious Uprising.
I love Uprising.
They're great.
We'll see how Gathering goes. Well, see, the thing is that they've kind of changed a little bit, so who knows? And I've played the Gathering, I think, twice with the original version, so I think I understand at least the thematic elements,
Mhm.
and I don't think the ritual works the same. I don't know. I'll have to look at them, but I'm excited.
Yeah, I would definitely check out those videos that Pablo put out if you have the time. But
Oh yeah, I will.
we'll go ahead and start. So you'll see, it'll just deal your opening hand. It'll get us started. And it has a little UI to like tell strength. So we'll just go ahead and play our round. So we are starting with the Great Road, and we're all gonna simultaneously bid cards to acquire them from here. I feel like this is kind of a mediocre flop of cards. Forgotten Palace is really strong though. So I will tell you guys I'm probably gonna bid high for it. And typically folks will just, for the Great Road, put their cards in this like top region.
Oh, okay. Oh well, what the heck, man? We only got one round. I'll throw in a card and see what happens. Nev, get in here.
Alright. So everyone's good with their bids. We'll simultaneously reveal. The UI is nice. It'll tell you what that strength is.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Woo.
Going for that Buried Palace, I assume. But yeah. So the 10 has the highest strength. So Nev will resolve his bid first.
I managed to draw the card underneath it.
A skillful play. Alright.
Very talented. Legerdemain.
Alright. So the 8 is the next strongest. Oh man, these are just kind of not that exciting. I'll take the lantern.
All right. I'll take the boatman.
Alright, so you actually don't have to do anything. All we do is just now click this, and it will automatically reset the market for us.
Whoa.
So now we
Wow,
are
this is
at Harold's.
very automated. Holy moly.
So we're at Harold's.
Okay.
So once again, that's in turn order. So purple will go first.
All right. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and put it here.
Yeah, you are typically going to see Uprising contest the Harvest Field early because they really
They
like to
want
have Spy
that
Network
little-
online.
That makes sense.
I want Wilderness, so I will go there.
I just want the most influence in this one round.
Say you
okay?
won this one round game.
Like we're establishing new gameplay patterns here.
All right. And now we will place cards at regions simultaneously.
Right. And so, yeah, so if, just really quick, if
Yeah.
I win here in this area, then Nev doesn't get the choice, right?
Correct.
So all I had to do is just be the best here.
Yep. And the highest card that someone can have in their hand at the start is a 10 strength card.
Right. But Nev already spent his.
That is true.
Yeah, but there's other tricks. There's, of course.
I mean,
so
there's
many things
supporters,
like
and there's also
Right.
eliminates. He could have his
Yeah.
agent.
that. Right.
Just
Okay.
go for the elimination immediately. Surely I wouldn't do something like that.
Oh, you would.
Surely it's not a bomb.
By God.
Surely he would never play a bomb on the first turn.
seen
Surely
so
it
many-
wouldn't be in my guide video.
Yeah, seriously.
Just
I've-
bomb them first turn. It's easier.
It's totally fine.
All right. So
All
we
right.
placed cards. So now we'll do spring action step in turn order. I will have to check. There should be a UI for turn order that's not appearing for some reason. So I will talk to our dev and see why that is not the case. But we'll go ahead and just do it acoustic.
Acoustic.
And starting with gathering, you can resolve
I
any
think-
spring actions. You will
Right.
want to at least consider placing supporters down. You have a tactic you could
right.
use, but
Yep.
it's not a good time to use it.
Swap a card in your hand with nothing. Okay, so maybe I'll just put, what in the world did I even put down here? Oh, geez,
Yeah,
okay.
the peek at the card function is very helpful here.
All right. I'll put one there. Put one. Oh yeah, they're just in the area right there. All right. And then I think that's all I'm gonna do this
Okay.
round here.
Alright. Well,
Okay.
since we're playing one round, I may as well just optimize for
Just
one round.
just throw them
Well,
all in.
Trigger night raids.
So this fucking effect, it's just so mean.
That's the right
Opponent
spirit.
discards a card from their hand for each kingdom. Oh.
So we all have to discard one card. And if
Well, that's
Nev occupied
gross.
2 cards, we'd have to discard 2 cards. And if Nev
Can I
occupied 3 kingdom cards, which this faction can do, we would have to discard 3 cards from our hand.
Nev, that's gross.
And then I'll set up my supporters.
Yeah, I might as well just put them all right. I should have
Yeah,
probably
why
just
not?
put all mine as well.
The uprising is the only one whose supporter tokens are sideways.
Yeah, there's I don't know why it does that, but it does. Well,
I know where it could have come from. It's just weird that it's only one of them.
yeah. All right. And
Where
I assume you're going to use Forgotten Palace.
Oh, right. The ability that you
Yeah.
have here.
Yeah. We're gonna burn false orders.
And so for gathering lore or influence, you can just click these little buttons down here,
Oh, cool.
and it will go
And I
automatically
will
over to you.
spend it immediately.
Because
So
he's in that
by
window where he could buy a card.
Arch-Adjutant.
Cool.
And so you'll notice the game won't let you buy cards you can't afford, and it will, put the lore back when you buy a card. All right, and just because we're doing goofy stuff, I will put all of my guys here.
Jeez, you guys really
don't
really
do this in
leaning
an
in,
actual
aren't
game.
ya?
Don't do this.
Wow.
This is
Yeah, see, I'm actually, conserving.
In this one round game.
Yup.
we
I'm
established.
conserving.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna do. And so this is just in general, if you are the last person, you still need to pass your turn, otherwise the turn gets screwed up. So I'm still gonna pass my turn.
Although this is an excellent example of why being last in turn order is so valuable, because if I was last, Jaffles wouldn't have thought to do my bullshit.
Exactly. I've been
But
inspired.
now she can steal my ideas.
And now look at me being
Shitty
first.
ideas.
In fact, I think I'm gonna go eat some ice cream after this.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
All right.
The ice cream was for apple crumble.
So, as last player, I get to place the markers. We'll just do this.
Right.
We'll have the big showdown here last. We'll allow people to flank in. Once that's good, we'll advance. And now we are going to resolve the clashes in order. So what you'll want to do is just first flip to tell the game, okay, we're doing the lowlands. Now everyone reveals their cards, and first player in turn order should be prompted to take their daylight actions.
Oh, right. Oh, that's crazy. Dude, crazy. This is optimized quite a bit.
Our dev has done an amazing job on this.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. It's like a video game almost. It's close. It's close.
The fact that they only have one map to deal with really makes it a lot easier.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah.
It was probably the biggest reason that we can't do any sort of analytics en route is like, oh, you're gonna
Right.
have to set zones for every map
Oh man.
that
Yeah.
somehow also tracks when people roll back their shit.
Yeah. This does not support rolling back, so just
yeah.
be aware.
Well, neither does TTS, so we're good there.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, do I even care? No, sea lanes is not useful. What does this do? I could use the old King's Lantern to do some shenanigans if I wanted to, but I don't think I'm going to. So I will pass. So now we are in the night step. We don't have any night effects to resolve. So we check strength. Gathering has the most strength here. So Gathering, you get to choose a location and claim its reward.
Well, first I get money. Oh yeah, well I gotta choose which one I'm gonna do. So one of these, move up to 3 cards that are active and or in your hand to the bottom of my deck in any order. Shuffle my discard pile, draw up to 3 cards. So that's kind of useless.
Yeah, these are both
Yeah.
pretty bad first round.
Cause they're like later game stuff.
Yeah, like mid to late game to prevent
Could be
attrition
really-
is the general
Yeah.
use.
Could you move yourself as an active card? Like this?
Yeah, you could. That's an active card.
Okay, so I could put that back into my hand technically.
You move it to the bottom of your deck. So it's cards that are active or in your hand.
Active and
So
in
you
your
could
hand
use this
to
to
the
curate
bottom.
your hand a little bit if you have stuff in your hand you don't want.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Well, you
because
know
at the
what?
start you always draw up to max hand size.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'll just choose Shrine.
Okay. So first you gain an influence.
Yeah, so let's gain that. I'll just take this and put it on the bottom of my deck.
All right.
And
There's
then I can just put
TTS
what's
command
in
for
my-
it, but I can't
I think it's
remember what it is.
U. You use like U.
It's like a key combo.
Yeah.
I forget what.
All right. So now we will move on to our second clash.
Mm, 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 mm.
No, my stab. No.
So, okay, so you played the little deadly one.
Yes. I got a little cheeky.
Generic mook.
I've been defeated by the pickets.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay.
But first we will do daylight actions before we resolve any nighttime effects.
Right. Okay, so let's see here. Daylight actions. Flank.
You might still win on supporters.
Yeah, flank here. Let's see what it was again.
It allows you to move the card into an unresolved region.
It itself, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can
Okay, yeah.
gang up on the last one,
Yep.
which would be
That's
big
right.
sad.
Where Nev definitely put his eliminate.
Absolutely.
Bomb.
Which is gonna be sad,
Play bomb.
Sad.
Always play bomb.
Okay. I think that's it, because I don't want to do any of my abilities or anything.
I'd love to
Isn't
say
that
always
coach?
play bomb, but you need those points.
Alright. Let's see. Yeah, Sea Lanes doesn't do anything. Lantern doesn't do anything. So I'm just not gonna do anything. So now we're in nighttime effects. So Deadly would eliminate this card, but it's invulnerable. If there are any active opponent followers in the clash, eliminate this card. Boom. Now it's still 5-4, so I still win this region. So I could choose an effect to resolve. What I'm going to do is do Wilderness. So I can journey with one card that is active or in my hand. I also get an influence and an additional influence because my Herald is here. So I'm going to take 2 influence. And then I'm going to journey with an active card. I'm going to journey my Trader. It does not have Pathfinder, so it gets lost, but it does give me 2 lore. Which, if I wanted to, I could choose to spend on a card, which I'm going to do. I'm going to pick up the Storyteller. And that resolves all of that. So we'll move on to the third clash. He didn't play bomb? What?
I didn't have it.
Okay.
You gotta lie half the time, so they never know when you're lying.
I really thought you were gonna play bomb.
The age-old hack.
All right.
So this one also has a flank, or no, you can't use that again, or could you?
Yeah,
so
there's
to
nowhere
answer
else
your
to go.
question, kind of in part, you could,
because
because it's a command. Commands can be used multiple times, but flank is useless here because there's no unresolved region to flank into.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. All right. Well, dude, I'm good.
All
Yeah.
right.
'Cause I don't want to move any of my supporters out of there.
Yeah. Me and stupid flanking. Ruined my whole cool plan. I had a handful of followers is my problem.
Look at my beautiful setup for the end of this round here. You know, I still got some supporters.
Mhm.
I might win this middle round. What's the
You do,
lesson learned
actually?
here, viewers? What's the lesson learned here? Huh?
Play all of your supporters on the first round. What could possibly go wrong?
Absolutely no problem with doing that.
Look, the lesson for the viewers at home is if God chose you, you'll win.
all hail the
just
gathering.
Top pick the 9 and the 5.
Oh man.
All right. Once again, can't
Beautiful.
really do much, so I will pass. We move into nighttime. No nighttime effects to resolve. check strength. Gathering wins. So gathering, which
I'm choosing
which
that
location
one.
are you choosing?
I get 3 influence because my herald's there.
All right.
Correct?
Yep.
Yeah, yummy.
So then we will move into autumn. And so remember, you have all of your autumn actions and a govern and a journey from hand.
All right, so those cards that you left over, which I only have one.
So this is
So
done
sad.
in turn order. Nev,
Oh, sorry.
you're good.
Oh
I mean, it's
my-
just
Get out of there!
you get
It
that
is
information.
unchanged.
Okay, so govern with 1 card from your hand, or journey with 1 card from your hand. I think.
And
would
you can do these
rather-
in any order. Like you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will journey with this friend here.
Okay.
So I'll get 2 lore for that.
Yep. Would you like to spend that lore?
Great question. Yeah, I'll definitely at some point look at this, but I remember there was like a weird order that the Gathering wanted to get these in the last version of the game. Is that still the case?
Not
That you
really.
had to get
No.
in a certain order. Okay, so there was like a stacked way that you.
Yeah, they kind of had a like insurgent snowball scoring mechanism, which worked
Yeah.
in a first past the post game, but in a game where they always get 5 turns to snowball, it became too strong.
Oh, okay. So this is just you can get them in any order anyway. Okay.
Yes.
So let's see here. Well,
The mask maker, we all have that same one. In
Yeah, they're slightly asymmetric, but they all have 11 strength and this ability to like steal from anything. But like you'll notice Mask Maker has slightly different votes and
I bought mine.
yeah. We can
I
look at
see,
Nobility
I
1.
see.
Like Nobility 1 for instance doesn't generate any lore.
got it.
So they're
I'm gonna
slightly
buy
asymmetric.
Bringer of the Word.
You gonna be bringing that word?
I'm gonna be bringing that word. Cool.
You can't separate it from the joke.
Nev, don't make me mute you. I know what you're
Yeah,
thinking, and
for
don't make
real.
me
Hey,
mute
look, you can't mute me from your mind.
you.
Oh, it's true though.
Look, it's okay. Sam's the only one who's allowed to bring the word.
That's true. It's his word, he can bring it.
Amen, brother.
I'm gonna make this joke until they ban me.
Immediately gets banned.
Well, that was a fun tournament, all.
So, purchasing Bringer is nice because now you could immediately govern it.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh,
Yeah.
I was getting it because I was like, I'll set up for the next time.
Nope.
That's amazing because this card has a really good effect.
Yep.
About being in the council here.
Yep. So you can
Um,
govern it, and now
From your
you can
professional
even do its
opinion-
effect.
Okay, but from your professional opinion, which one of these council seats for the gathering is best to supply first? Just a
So for this one, you want people to kind of ignore it and like not kick it out. So I think secrets is gonna be typically the most contested one. So I usually put it in
okay.
oaths, where people are just gonna leave it alone.
Okay. If this card is in a council, place a faction marker on any council. Each marker on a council contributes 1 vote to me. When this card is removed from the council, move it to the lost pile. Okay, and all of the votes. Okay, so I'll take a vote, and I get to put it on any of the other ones.
Yep.
Sounds like this one will be contested, so I might as well put a little vote in there.
There you go.
Sweet. And I think that's it for my turn, because I don't want to do
Well,
the autumn effects
you
that are
see,
on my board.
what you're not seeing here is now you have a vote in this council, right?
Correct.
So why not go ahead and activate it?
Immediately? Oh my gosh, my brain.
Yeah,
Ow,
there we
the
go.
power.
There we go.
I'm playing 5D chess. without
Just
even
wait
realizing
until
it.
you watch Lord Skarn play this game, and
Oh,
you're just
no.
like, how the fuck? How did he think of this shit?
I'm just gonna feel. Oh, we're gonna get Nev. I'm going to get annihilated, man.
So our main competition, I think, is
Oh no.
Adam. Is that his name?
In
Yeah.
our
Or
table.
no, sorry. I guess we're with Munch too.
Yeah,
so-
Munch is really good. He's
Isn't he one of-
Munch has played a bunch of games against Skarn. He loses most of them, but he's
I
there.
see.
That's why my goal is to go out in a blaze of glory and die a hero.
But yes, you can activate the Council of Secrets.
So that will count as one, so I can put a vote here.
So it works a
Secrets
little
is
bit
free.
differently. It says place a faction marker on a location, which, if you recall, are one of
Oh.
these.
My bad, my bad. Nope, you're right. You're
Oh,
right.
good.
Yep. Of course, you're right.
Hitting you with that law of root keyword
Yep.
importance.
Location has 4 more markers. Remove them. Oh, okay. Which there's no marker there. Okay, so this would be like a weird little game that will eventually pop off once
Yeah.
we get enough votes in a
But
region.
Battlefield
Okay.
is the worst. The only place where you just never want to put it, because you do not get the influence from the reward. You just get the other part of it.
Got it. Okay. That's literally the only place I should not have placed it.
Correct.
Great. I will put. I'll put one.
It's a learning moment.
Yes.
Great. It's a good thing I'm doing this now.
Sometimes you just
Saturday.
gotta make mistakes to learn. I mean, don't, but if you ever go back and watch my old streams of this where I'm just getting reamed by other players, I've made all these mistakes.
Perfect. I'm very excited to get reamed as well.
Someone on my channel asked after I posted that horrific shit post. They're like, "So wait, is there going to be gay sex?" And my response was, "I fully expect to be taking it in the ass on stream."
No comment.
I saw that conversation and was just like, I love it here.
Oh, the setup was just so good. I guess I'll do my autumn actions.
Yeah, you want to pass? Lower the board.
Here, I
Oh,
already
I
did.
think I
Like
did.
ages
I
ago.
passed.
I've just been
Nice.
sitting on it.
I passed inappropriately because I didn't think I could immediately do all that, but it makes
It's
sense.
okay.
I could.
Okay, so
Oh, and I guess technically I put 2 points.
So what I want to do is first I'm going to journey the storyteller. He has Pathfinder, so he just goes into the discard. That gets me 2 lore. I'm going to pick up Wandering Embassy because this is my favorite way to play clans. It allows you to flank cards into councils, which is really fun.
That's very cool.
Then, clans is like maybe the one faction where you could actually just kind of slam it all on the table here, because I do have Salt Toughness, oh no, they changed this. That's right, they turned this into a card. Never mind. Ignore me. I was thinking of an earlier build. But what I will do is use River Runners, which allows me to just basically take a kingdom card from an opponent. I want this.
That explains so much, because I was always looking at Salt Toughness like, what the hell is this name for?
Choose any number of your faction card that are after.
But if they turned it into New Haven's Harbor, that explains everything.
Yeah. Then... So, oh, and because I took this away from you, this goes back into your hand, Nev. And... yeah, that's basically it. That's all I'm going to do. I had some rallies, which maybe could have been useful, but I decided not to go that route.
So I think...
And I'm out of cards, because I, blew all my cards. So I did the thing that you shouldn't do, which is run out of cards and miss out on free stuff. So I don't get to govern, unfortunately. But that's life. So,
Actually, what was it that allowed you to steal that? I was probably saying some dumb bullshit while you were doing that.
it's this tactic here that I flipped.
Okay, yeah.
River Runners.
Right, I had forgotten about that.
Yep. it's good, and it technically does not count as a steal. So things like White Watchtowers cannot stop it either.
Okay.
Wow. I just want to say, guys, it is feeling really good to be on top today.
Round of
To have
applause.
won 4 influence.
Yeah. Pretty strong single turn round.
Yeah.
I must admit.
That's why
It actually,
that's why you want to try to win at least one region each round. If you can win 2, that's gravy.
okay.
But
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, I definitely stumbled into a lot of luck there because I genuinely was like choosing Bringer of the Word because it looked cooler than the other one.
I mean, I
And
do
then I
like
was
to
like,
pick
oh,
this one up early to do
it
exactly
makes
what you just
sense
did.
because what it just did was gave me a lot of cool little action eco that I didn't even realize was possible that same turn. So
Yep.
I might be my opener for the tournament, but don't quote me.
Yep. Yeah,
It's a popular opener, I think.
any
Okay,
like
good to know.
autumn actions that you kind of unlock can be used same turn
Got it.
is really nice. So you can just definitely do some shenanigans with that.
Cool. Makes sense. Makes sense. Oh, this was an amazing teach. Thank you, Jaffles. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
guys for
thank you
hanging
very
out.
much.
It was really fun and nice to know that I
Yep.
can actually teach this game. This is the first time I've actually gone through a full teach. So, thank you
No,
for
you've
trusting
got
me
it
to do
pretty
that.
streamlined, I would say. That went
Yeah, that
very
was
smoothly.
really clean. Yeah, I didn't have hardly any questions, so
In
amazing
fact,
job.
I only have one lingering question, and
Oh
that
yeah.
is Jaffles plural, or is there a plural form of Jaffles?
So,
Jaffle.
yes,
Jaffai.
it is plural. So, do you know what a jaffle is?
I have never heard of this in my life.
So, it is a toasted sandwich similar to a panini that is popular in Australia.
Oh, it's Australia food. That
Yes.
explains this.
It's essentially an Australian panini, and I just like the word.
The land that accepted fairy bread.
And Vegemite.
And
Yes.
root.
But
I mean, begrudgingly on that last one.
everyone from Australia expects me to be Australian, and they're like, "Why the fuck aren't you Australian?"
With a name like that.
With a name like Jaffles, she has to be Australian.
That's so funny. Oh, that's good. Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again for hanging out. This was super helpful. I'll post the recording so that other folks can watch. But this was super fun. I'm super stoked to have you guys play in the tournament.
Yeah, I look forward to clowning around in front of a larger audience.
It'll be
same here.
It'll be a good time.
Wild. Me and Nev shouldn't be playing Root together. We found out too, so I don't know about this.
Well, I mean, we can play Root together. It makes it easier for both of us because we don't get fucking targeted as hard.
That's actually a good point. Separate. And in this,
man,
I hope
RootCon, it wasn't even a strategic decision, but my choice to show up incognito genuinely improved my odds so much.
Yeah, you actually won a game.
I made my way to finals. Is
Yeah.
what I did.
That's amazing.
And I think Lord of the Board, you were commiserating because you got targeted because they're like, oh, we know this guy and
he's so good.
He understands the game.
Yeah.
Apparently, no one in this planet understands the game, so they just target the people who they think do.
I mean,
very true.
Honestly, I feel like Root is just one of those games where like I've spent way too much time digesting Root content and like studying Root strategy, and then I just go and play with people who don't know what they're doing, and I lose every time because it's like, why is no one playing the meta? Like,
beautiful game.
Those people exist. They're on digital, complaining in the chat room all the time, complaining that people aren't running the meta in every game they play. It's like, dude,
So
they have what you want. It's called the league. And then you ask that question and realize that these people were swiftly banned from the league.
Yeah, seriously, the worst guys.
They're just fucking annoying. Nobody wants them.
Yep.
Incredible.
It's great.
Well, awesome. I'm so excited. And yeah, once again, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, thank you
thank you
guys. I
very
know it's
much.
late, so I'll let you go. But if you have rules questions or anything else comes up, just let me know.
Yeah, we'll do.
Perfect.
The only thing I really need was like more actual mileage and game hours, but I wasn't gonna go scheduling it. So I'm just gonna go in blind and pray that I can gaslight someone into helping me.
Same. Same.
It's we just here's what we do. We get one of either Munch or Adam on our side to focus the other one.
Yes, yes. That
Uh,
I'm good at table talk. I can work table talk.
Mhm.
That's my strength. I'll do that.
I can bring out my emergency strategy for Root, which is if you police me, I'll moan suggestively every time.
Yeah, you're gonna get muted if you do that.
It's no, it's the threat you make. You don't necessarily have to follow
Doesn't
through.
have to happen.
He's never pressed the nuclear button that we know of.
So,
Beautiful.
All right.
how
Well,
how about
for anyone else who tuned in, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And yeah, we'll catch you on the flip side. We're starting to stream games this weekend and are super excited about it.
yeah, show up and remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, algorithm engagement.